But I have two guests before me in studio this Monday morning. I've spoken about a very special place that I've been to a few times because for some reason I'm just struck by the goodness in the air when I'm there. It's called Tiglin. It's a residential treatment centre for people struggling with addiction. It's the man who opened its doors is Aubrey McCarthy. Good morning, Aubrey. Good to see you again, as always. But also I'm joined today by a man I met not too long ago. And I was again struck by him and his story and his talent, and that's Kian Amelia. Good morning, Kian, and thanks for coming in this morning. How are you getting on?
Thanks for having me in.
So, thank you for being here. Okay, so I suppose in some ways, Aubrey, I'm going to begin with you because we'll take a pen sketch of what Tiglin is, and then we can get stuck into the conversation. So for people going, okay, I mentioned Tiglin sometimes. What is it?
Ryan, a lot of your listeners will probably know of Tiglin as the old scouting and mountaineering centre in Wicklow.
Yes.
Well, a number of us got together and we bought the Tiglin premises in 2008. A number of us had addiction in our own families. And so we just said, can we make a difference here? So we bought it in 2008 and we said, okay, we'll try and set up 6 beds, which grew to 8 beds, which grew to 10 beds, 20 beds. So now in our care on any one day, we've over 100 people on any one day. We started off to help people in addiction. And then that became people that were vulnerable, people that were homeless, people that came from trauma and abuse. And recently, you would have seen we've taken in 97 Ukrainians as well on one facility. So it's all worked really well. But if you're to put a tagline on it, it's basically to help people that are vulnerable, people that just need an opportunity to heal from whatever they're trying to escape.
Yeah, some people are just the car breaks down.
Absolutely.
In their soul and in their hearts and in their heads. And you guys are like the AA, both automobile and drying out. Would that be fair to say?
A good way to put it. And I remember you visited probably 2 years ago and you're due another visit. Actually.
I am, yes.
But I remember you said that we help people that are a little bit broken. And I think every family in Ireland, most of your listeners will have family members that are a little bit broken if they're not broken themselves. Yeah. And I am no different to anybody out there. And I believe through Tiglin, I have seen lives changing. I was in a restaurant there recently and I brought guests to the restaurant and we were sitting down having a meal. What the guests didn't know is the guy who owns the restaurant I met him outside Houston Station with a cup years ago.
No.
Yeah. So
that must be very satisfying when you see those fixed people.
Everybody needs a second chance or a third chance or a fourth chance. And Tiglin is led by our CEO, Phil Thompson. And this guy, he goes out of his way to try and give people those chances.
You said, so you had, excuse me, you had little addiction issues in your family.
Yes.
You don't have to go into any detail to speak of, but tell me what that did in terms of wanting you to do something back, because you have a full-time job beside all of this. So this is quite a big thing that you've been doing. What happened there?
I remember I went to counselling because everybody said, Aubrey, you need counselling. So I don't know. That's a good thing.
No, that's absolutely right.
So I went to the counsellor and the counsellor said, what I'm trying to do, she summed it up, is I'm trying to fix every person that's a little Aubrey out there. I'm trying to make sure that they don't go through whatever I went through. Yeah. And maybe that's true, maybe it's not. But I will say you've Cian here with you today. And when I see Cian coming into a programme, and Cian had his issues, which he'll discuss in a while. But when you see this guy changing, and I'm at a concert of his a couple of weeks ago, and he's supporting Luca Bloom in a couple of weeks' time, you see, wow, given a second chance, people's lives can change. And I will say, without darkness, you won't see any light.
Yeah.
So I see that with the guys in Tiglin, and we've always said, okay, we cannot change what you've gone through, but we can change the ending for you. Yeah. And that's what we try and do.
It could have been so different. I mean, Cian, when we look at you, today we could have been interviewing you, on the side of a street somewhere, or in some different circumstance. You're from Maynooth.
Maynooth originally, yeah.
And let's go back to where you are. You're 44 now, so if we go back a number of years to when you were 14.
Yeah.
Can you remember the first...
I mean, for me, one thing I just want to say before we start, it's really good listening to Aubrey and getting just the background of where he's come from. A friend of mine sent me a text this morning, and it's just a little, to me it sums up what Tiglin is about as well. One day you will tell your story about how you overcame what you went through, and it will be someone else's survival guide. So
that's really
like
nicely put. Yeah, survival guide is a great way.
Survival guide.
Yeah,
so
I like that.
using my experience is there to, you know, it can lay a foundation for someone else, or a guide track. And I think that's what Tiglin does, and what students like myself who've come through it do.
Yeah.
So for me, from a very young age, like alcohol, you know, when I was 14, I started drinking, you know, and it started off a whole life of addiction, I suppose, you know.
Your story is one of push and pull, isn't it? The whole time. You kept getting back on the wagon, falling off the wagon, back on the wagon. Because it constantly, what I get from the impression I get from your story, Cian, is that you, deep down, you were always wanted to be the good guy, but unfortunately the demons kept getting the better of you.
And that's it. That's well said. The demons kept getting on top of me, you know. And it's like Aubrey said about the darkness there. It's like the darkness was always trying to chase me a lot of my life, you know. And again, the light has won though this time. You know, this is about hope as well.
Well, talk us through you talk us through the how you navigated all that.
I mean, for me, like, this might make sense to a lot of people, but at that time, the decisions I made, or the things I chose to do with alcohol, or, you know, alcohol and drugs, they were the best solution at that time for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, they were like my solution at that time, you know. And it's not like addiction can be put into one sort of, you know, or heroin addicts, or, you know, crack cocaine, or, you know, but like, addiction is a lot wider than that. You know, I think Aubrey said it very well. I mean, I know people, it goes from women in their 60s and 70s in a dark place in a room in their house, somewhere, you know, in wherever in the country, to the guy sitting in the sleeping bag on the side of the road. Like, you know, we're all trying to get away from something. So alcohol and drugs were a solution. Not a very good one, obviously, in the long term, but I spent many years as a youth worker, and I always got that. When I got clean the first time, I always got that it was a good, it was I understood it. Not that I, obviously, it's alcohol and drugs is not the solution, but at that time, it gives you relief. Who doesn't want to have a bit of relief? Who doesn't want?
Let me ask you what you needed a solution to. What was the problem?
Yeah,
that
so this is always
solving?
the big question.
Yeah.
You know, like, I think, look, as a teenager, everyone goes through stresses. You know, I think I always had a bit of darkness. You put it very well, darkness or demons and stuff like that. I struggled in school. I'm dyslexic and things like that. Like, when I was very young, it wasn't really, there wouldn't be as much help as there was now. So from a very young age, I wasn't very happy in school.
Okay.
And for me, look, I'm a musician first and foremost. Because you can get put in a box that I'm an addict. I'm this. The bottom is I'm Kian Amelia. I'm a singer-songwriter. I've been a musician since before I was 14. You know that way?
Yeah.
And my happy place was with my guitar. I'd done a photo shoot actually last week for this gig coming up, and there's a picture of me holding my guitar, and that reminds you of me being 14 years of age. So besides music, it gave me comfort. Outside of that, I made bad decisions, but they were good for me at that time, and it led me down, I suppose, like a boomerang.
Yeah.
You know, I threw it out, and it was something. It was my solution, but it came back and cut me to ribbons.
Do you know what you were running from? Have you got the answer to that question?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's what anyone, you know. Again, it's a darkness. I think I maybe had a depression, anxiety type of stuff. Yeah. And that was born out of stuff in school. Like I said, I mean, to be in school, I wrote a song actually many years ago, and talking about that type of stuff, about how hard it is to be in. I know a lot of kids would identify how hard it is to be in school, not really understanding what's going on, but the curriculum is the curriculum. If you don't fit into that, you're outside of the box. Well, if you're outside of the box, like, you're put in, like, when I went to secondary school, I was put in a bracket of a certain, you know, of the lower class or whatever in school. So I played into that, you know. Well,
there's two things that you're saying that I found the longer I sit in this chair doing this job is, one, school isn't for everyone. And the school system isn't for everyone. That's for sure.
I think it's got a lot better though. Like, you know.
Listen, I agree with you, and they're trying their hardest to.
And I'm not trying to put the blame on them either. It was. I mean, bigger part of recovery is I'm taking responsibility. That's what I've done. Like, I'm taking responsibility. I've been in, like, when I say I've battled since 14 years ago, I have battled. I've had some good times. I've had highs. I've had lows. But look, I'm still standing, and I keep fighting. You
were just to go through some of the things with you that you had. You trained to become a youth worker. Yeah. Got burnt out from that.
Yeah.
There was the pattern, as you described it, as addiction and so forth. You lived in a hostel in Ivy House for a while, which was great. But I should have mentioned that you were on The Voice of Ireland in 2015.
Yeah.
Okay, and then in an unrelated relapse then after that.
Well, that was the start of this journey this time around. So I got over 10 years clean and sober when I was a youth worker. I got clean sober in my early 20s. Went down. That's I wanted to give back. Was a youth worker. Again, life situations come up. That darkness followed me again.
Yeah.
You know, and I know people identify with that. It's that's all we hear: anxiety, depression. Such a big epidemic in this country, and people don't want to talk about it. You know, they want to let's pretend it's not happening. Like for me, it's any of the songs I've written. That one you heard that day, and I've loads of I'm trying to communicate that. Number one for me, but it seems to reach other people as well. It's okay to not be okay. It's that saying. Yeah. But until you go through that darkness, and I think a lot of people do, and we don't even know that, you know. So,
Aubrey, are you here?
I was just listening to you there,
Yeah.
and we were talking about even you were dyslexic at school, and you didn't fit in. The amount of people that we talk to, and we have the homeless outreach as well in Dublin. We're feeding 200 people a day and 80 in the evening on Pearse Street. But I notice that individuals, they don't fit into the educational system. And so it's like what Einstein said, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's doomed to failure for life. So I'll give you an example. And recently you were down at the opening of Jigginstown, and the guy that was doing the speech with President Higgins was a guy we met on the street. He came to the bus, and his education was fairly bleak, and I thought there was something incredibly genius about this guy. So we partnered with IT Carlo, and they partnered with Tiglin, and we got him on a program. He did a certificate, he did a diploma, he did a degree, and now he's just done his master's degree.
Wow.
So Tiglin is not a cookie cutter.
He's educated himself out of the shadows. I mean, this is what I've always been completely bowled over by in Tiglin as well, is that there's a lot of men and also the women in British Bay who are if you met them at the height of their or the depth of their rather problems, you'd think, God, they're troubled, they're troubled souls. But the bottom line is then when you see them in that setting of recovery and positivity, you say, no, why do we judge? Why did I judge them as troubled souls? They're just good souls who need to be untroubled. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does.
That's what it's about.
That's you have to start with the goodness and work your way.
I mean, if you sitting here with me now, if you had have seen me over a year and a half ago, you know what I mean? But I've been given many opportunities. Like people stuck by my family. Without them, I wouldn't be sitting here. 100%. Like they've stuck by me through everything. But like, if you're not given the opportunity, I am sitting here. I'm not like meeting the president a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sitting in this. I'm not doing this. Like I'm back stuck in a hostel or something in town, like absolutely broken and lost. And it's places like Tiglin and you know and good people with good hearts, like, you know what I mean. Given that, and then we get to flourish.
Yes.
Like, my life is flourishing. If you would have met me a year and a half ago, Ryan, you wouldn't have, like, literally. I was resigned to the fact that my life is done. It's over. I had a bit of trouble when I was younger. Turned it around, done some good work with people, wrote some good music, and now I can't catch it.
Where were you 18 months ago, would you say?
I was in the worst place.
Lockdown, horror.
Yeah, it was like, it was tough. It was just tough. Like, it was like, I didn't think I was ever come back from it. That's the truth.
Were you in Dublin?
Yeah, I was living it. I was living in the Ivy Hospital. Like, I was very grateful for that time, but it was more up here. Like, it was just. It was hard. Like,
you were lost.
I was lost. It was the lockdown happened. I like you said at the start, I've been coming back and forth and trying my best to live. I just wanted to be free and to live, and I just couldn't do that. And you know, everyone was around me was trying to help me, but I just couldn't get this. I couldn't stop. Like, and I couldn't get this thing out of my head. It was just like this constant obsession.
Were you clean at the time?
No. I was at the start, and then I relapsed, and lockdown happened. And I'm not blaming that again, but. It was tough. It was just such a lonely place, and it was like people kept trying to help me, and I kept failing and letting them down, and that's just hard. It does something to you when you've been in places like that. But look,
you know, you've probably described even in your silence what a lot of people in lockdown particularly went through without addiction problems. You know, that sense of frustration. Where you have tears in your eyes and you're thinking, will this ever end? You know what? And then you rightly say, you can have all the friends in the world and knocking at your door saying, you're all right, you're all right. Actually, sometimes all the friends in the world can't compete with your greatest enemy in your head.
And that is the truth. That is the truth. Those days I didn't know how I was going to literally just make it through. That one day, and that was like hard. Like, you know, sorry.
No, I appreciate your honesty, and I think this is a good conversation to have, Aubrey, because, like I say, it's not just Cian who's had 18 months or 2 years, or indeed a life of this. Sometimes it's nice to hear the honesty of the darkness.
And I think the honesty is what will set you free.
And
I will say, President Higgins was at our place 2 weeks ago.
That was the big speech
That was the big
he made
speech he made about homelessness.
Yeah.
And he gets what we do. He gets Cian. He gets exactly what we're about. But he's mentioned that Tiglin helps people who have had their participation in life disrupted. I thought, what a wonderful way to put it. So Cian has had Cian is a musician. And he's a professional musician, and he has had that disrupted. Okay, so he's been displaced from whatever in life. So our job at Tiglin, through counselling, through family support, through group therapy, all the professional evidence-based programs that we have, are to get him back on track, and that's what works. And I was at a wedding 2 weeks ago, and this lady was getting married, and Phil wasn't there, our CEO, and I took pictures discreetly of just different people who came through the program, just to say, Phil, you have made a huge difference here through the program. You've 20 people there with families, mothers, fathers, kids, and they have their lives back just at one wedding.
Oh, you know, I've met a couple of people, I hope I can count you among them now, Cian, through this show and the Late Late Show, who've been through the Tiglin system. That's how we met, actually, in the Late Late Show with Aubrey, yourself, and that. And it's so nice to see them at events like Jigginstown the other day. They're thriving. They're doing different things. They're on style counsellors. Maybe you know their life is going great for them. It's a lovely thing.
It's so important. Like, again, when I'm listening to Aubrey there, for me, it's like without that support, I needed that support to flourish. I needed that to be taken away from society. I needed to be able to fall apart. I needed to feel like I'm just because I'm getting emotional now. Just so I sort of go back and think what that was like and how grateful I am not to be there. But like without people like Aubrey and Phil, and there's so many other people, you know, they're the heads of it. But there's so many people on the ground, and they all do this with a heart and with love.
It's a
and
network.
Love
It's
trumps all for me with that stuff.
You're so
and
right.
you know, when I create an opportunity though for me to, like, it's like a kickstart, and I come out and I'm living down in Greystones now. I'm swimming in the sea every morning. This amazing house, like, and that's the truth. Like,
This is the
new Carrigaden is just amazing.
Yeah,
I've been in many other places, and I'm not like saying one's better than the other, but it is better. You know, when I moved into Carrigaden, I was like, right, I'm worth something. The building makes me feel worth something. The community of Greystones have been just amazing to me.
And I will say,
embrace me, like, it's amazing.
Wicklow County Council and Kildare County Council, for some reason, they get what we're about.
And the President said as much the other day. He said they should be leading by, should be following their example.
Exactly. It's interesting also, Ryan, we started a new social enterprise in Greystones. And this is for guys to get back into the workplace. Okay, we called it Rise at the Cove. It's a cafe. We sell vegan ice cream, beautiful coffee, the best coffee in Ireland, not only in Wicklow.
All right, I'm in.
But anyway,
definitely.
but what happens now is you have the guys in there as baristas. They're being poached by other coffee shops.
Good.
You have the people in their dry robes. You have the guys from the house. Now you have our Ukrainian...
I didn't get him dry up yet. I'm getting one.
I'll get you one. Our Ukrainian guests now are also working there, and we have an ice cream shop there as well. So it's really integration with the community, and it works hand
I met
to
some
glove.
of the Ukrainian residents at the Jigginstown the other morning. And, you know, it was so interesting to chat to them for a few minutes as well, just to move the conversation in terms of they were curious about what is this place and what's going on here. And yet I remember saying to them, I said, look, I know you guys want to be at home. And you want to be back at Ukraine, but until then, you know, you're our brothers and sisters. You know, you're welcome, and you know, that's just this philosophy and the whole thing. There's a network of kindness.
And you know, in January when we purchased the old YWCA place in Greystones, and we were able to get a bridging loan to finance it, we have a women's transitional housing facility there. But there was another retreat type of facility, and I rang Liam O'Dwyer from the Red Cross, and I said, listen, can we help out with the Ukraine? We'll take a family or two, and he said, no, this is serious stuff, Aubrey. You need more than a family or two. So at the moment, we've 97 individuals. But these people are solid, wonderful people. They work in our coffee shops. We have them, the local school principals got together, the GAA got together. The local acting school is now on site at our facility.
Amazing.
And we also have a musical academy there. So it really works well. And even last week, we'd 3 weeks ago, this gentleman arrived, and his wife was coming over to Ireland, and with her child, who's 7, Sergey. Wonderful kid. But unfortunately, while they were preparing to come over here, a shell went off, and the mum was killed while with the boy. And he's 7 years of age, and he's traumatized. So they arrived with us 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, and just amazing people. But you say, how can I fix this? What can I do? You can give accommodation, but you can, try to help as much as possible. But interestingly enough, President Higgins's PA rang me last week and asked, would I like to bring some Ukrainians to the Oris last Friday? So I brought Artem and Sergey. And President Higgins made a fuss of a 7-year-old kid. There's lovely photos. Good. The kid was delighted. He's very little English, but he was thumbs up saying, good. And you just go, if you can just add a little bit back to what was lost.
There's no doubt. I had a lovely chat with Cian, says a text, after he sang at Jigginstown recently. He was so positive and fun to talk to. And listening now and hearing the emotion and pain, I just want to send him best wishes and hope that the bad times are behind him, and I'll keep him in my thoughts and prayers. That's lovely.
No, things are good.
I was impressed. You stood up and sang that song in Jigginstown with the president.
And that was just say that particular song, How Many Souls, I wrote it about a girl that I used to meet in Temple Bar. And for me with music is like there's something there when it speaks to a different part of a person that words don't. Well, and I've noticed that a lot, and that song was definitely like it's close, and it's only a new song. It's close. Everyone, I remember Niall Quinn coming up to you afterwards to say how much he enjoyed that too. And it was interesting. It was mad people coming up to me and saying that type. Not mad, but like it felt right as well though.
Yeah.
I've been like battling and fighting, and now it's like I'm in this receptive mode. Or life is good. There's hope. Like I know what it's like to be in that place. And now, because I've surrendered, I had to completely surrender, go into a place like Tiglin, accept the help, be humble myself, and the biggest thing for me is like it's never over. I was this close to giving up, and that would have been a bad mistake. And I think a lot of people are on that, like you said, coming out of the lockdown and all, but there is hope. There's people there that care. There is opportunities, there is a way out, and that's a big thing for me,
And that's why a lot of people will be listening. And it's interesting, one programme was on RTE, I think it was Liveline, a number of years back, and a lady called Paula McHale was listening. She's from Naas, and she heard that there was a young girl in the area, had no housing, and she went about and tried to get businessmen in the area. So that's how Jigginstown came about.
Okay.
So an individual can make a difference. Yes. Have you ever heard the phrase that when nobody is shouting, even a whisper can be heard? And I know even my own whisper, when nothing is happening, can make a difference. So now with housing, we have a new project on the go at the moment, and we're working with Tempo Housing to set up social housing with zero carbon. And we're being supported by the county councils on this. And we believe it'll make a difference to the likes of Cian, because often when people get sick in an environment, they can't return to that same environment. Yes. They need to get better and move on to better things.
Okay, I'm going to just say one more thing. It's really important, that, moving forward, not to get like Aubrey was saying, I'm not stuck now on that. I don't want to be stuck. I'm not it's not just about being an addict constantly. It's now life. Now I've got that what you call it, that platform to live life and do the things I always dreamed of when I was 14 and live and just be free and help people and carry that to other people.
It's very
positive.
That's
so important to me and close to my heart, to communicate that to people. Anyone who's lost or anyone who's broken, there is always a way. There's always a way. I don't care how dark or how low it was, I've been there. I'm not saying I'm worse than anyone else, but I've been there. And there is always a way out from that, 100%.
There's a lot of people want to say nice things, but somebody says the great Keno. It's been a great pleasure to be on this journey with you. All the best from Dino.
Dino, that's my brother.
Is he your brother?
We went not brother.
Brother in arms.
Many brothers, a few of them.
Brother in arms.
We went through Tiglin. We were a week apart, and we went through the whole. Well, it could be Dean or there's the other Dean. There's two Deans, but I think it's Dean.
Well, another says had the pleasure to sing with Cian as part of the Unity Choir last month, and it was the most emotional evening. He's an inspiration, says Laura. Listening to Cian's story, says another, it's just so moving, and how he has changed his life around. You're an inspiration, and I can't wait to see Amelia perform at the Whale Theatre on the 16th with Luca. Gentlemen, we have to say goodbye for now. Thank you for being so honest and sharing your story with us, Cian. It's great to see you in good shape and good health, and ending on a note of hope. And Aubrey, what you and your team do is extraordinary, as you know.
And Ron, I just want to say, the likes of Cian and all the guys, the girls that come through our programme, Tiglin is a chapter in their book. It's not the book, it's only a chapter.
Okay.
And a serious point is that they have a whole life ahead of them, and Tiglin will be a good chapter, but not the book.
That's it. We'll leave it at that. Thanks, guys. Best of luck. Thank you.